The numbers are in for the first weekend of Superman, and as you see from Deadline, it powers to $220 million for its global opening. Now, we'll see if this movie has legs. It's too early to tell whether we're going to see more momentum for next weekend. We're going to know a lot about this movie very soon. And obviously, there's been different opinions about this movie. I talked about my movie review, what I thought about Superman. So I'm not going to call this a flop. I think it's really premature, in my opinion, especially when you consider other factors like merchandise sales. The Godzilla movies didn't do well at the box office, but their merchandise did very well. So we have to factor that in. And obviously, Superman is a iconic character. People might love crypto and want to buy the crypto toys for their kids. And it's more of a cartoonish style movie, in my opinion, very light. So that's going to appeal to kids. So to me, it's just really early to draw a conclusion and say, oh, this movie's not going to perform well. I'm not going to say that. Just going to report the numbers. Now, looking at the international side, it made $95 million. That's not a good thing, especially when you open in a lot of different markets, and it's being reported it hasn't done very well in other markets around the world. So internationally, it's got to pick up. If it doesn't, then this movie will be a flop, because remember, even if you make $600 million, you have to think about the budget and the theaters keeping 50% of the money that Superman makes. Remember, the budget's around over $400 million. That's what's being reported with marketing and making this film. It has to make at least $800 million. And if it doesn't, then it will be a financial loss for Warner Brothers. But we shall see how it all plays out. People are saying that, oh, Superman made more than Man of Steel for its opening weekend. Well, if you include the Thursday previews, which start at 2 p.m., and you compare that to Man of Steel, where the film started at 10 p.m., Man of Steel still made $128 million in its opening weekend. As you see here from Forbes, Man of Steel soars to $128 million. So to say that Superman made more is not true. And when you factor in inflation for 2025 and you compare it to the prices back in 2013, Man of Steel is still going to do better at the box office than Superman for its opening weekend. Now let's talk about the international numbers that were lower than expected for the Superman movie. When you scroll down, you look at North America and Canada, they made 44% of the money in those markets. When you combine China, Japan, and South Korea, they only made $13.3 million. Now, let's see what happens next weekend. If this movie has legs and the word of mouth is good for the film, then these numbers should go up. If it doesn't, that's a concern. So for me, the international numbers are going to be a huge factor when it comes to building off the first weekend. And as the trade explains here, along with general superhero fatigue, internationally, Superman has never been the global box office draw that Batman is, thanks to Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. While there have been some arguments that the decline of the U.S. image under Donald Trump is impacting a hero that for decades was associated with the truth, justice, and American way, which they did change the American way. Quote, even with Gunn downplaying that last part in his film, box office history suggests it's not that simple. I do think changing that wasn't the best idea, in my opinion, but I also think with Variety, how they twisted James Gunn's words. If you go watch that interview at the red carpet, the interviewer was trying to bring up MAGA, and I think it ruined the first weekend, in my personal opinion. Now, Warner Bros. Has said in the past, well, if you make $500 million, that's a success, but that's not good, because if your budget's over $400 million, and the theaters keep at least 50% of the profits, then you lost money. And looking at the international numbers for Man of Steel in their opening weekend, they generated $71.6 million. Now, you also want to adjust for inflation, and they only opened in 24 overseas markets. And if you scroll down, they didn't get released in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Russia, and China in their opening weekend. Also, Australia saw the movie on June 27th, Brazil, July 12th, Japan, August 30th. So the numbers are a little skewed, because with Superman, it opened in every international market last weekend. So we shall see how this all plays out for the new Superman film. Like I keep saying, it is so early to speculate what is going to happen. I know internationally it's not doing too well right now, but that could change next weekend. It really could, in my personal opinion. Again, the film itself for me was a 6 out of 10. Doesn't mean James Gunn can't build off this film and make other good projects and make a better sequel, in my personal opinion. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the opening numbers of the Superman film. Do you think this film is going to have legs for next weekend and turn a profit for Warner Brothers? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.